it is a huge honor for me today to be interviewing the #1 rock star that I've ever heard of in social media, Jeff Bullas, down in Australia. And this podcast has to take you to the future because I'm podcasting you Wednesday at 3:30, and it's already Thursday morning at 9:30 there. So everyone listening to this is already a day into the future. How are you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing great, Howard. How are you?
And I knew you were just the most amazing guy in the world. I knew you were an amazing guy when I follow you on Twitter, and you have 380,000 followers. I mean, a dentist, us dentists, we're doing good if we got 100 or 200 or 300. If we just took the K off yours, 380 followers is probably what everybody has listening to you. And I was visiting my brother down in Sydney, Australia, and I've always known this thing about the most successful people. They always make a religion out of availability. And I said, this guy is on all the lists I've seen on the Wall Street Journal, whatever. Anybody talking about social media experts, you're always on the list. And I said, I bet you if I call him up and say, I'm an American, big fan of yours, and I'm down in Sydney visiting my brother, is there any way I could meet you? That there was just a chance you might say yes. And you said, yeah, and you met me and my brother for breakfast, and I just think you're an amazing man.
It's great to be here.
So what could you tell dentists from your level of 380,000 to a dentist trying to build up his social media? What would you say to a dentist? I mean, do you think a dentist, you're talking to several thousand general dentists right now, and maybe some orthodontists and oral surgeons, whatever, but do you think social media is worth their time and effort to build their dental business?
Social media is part of the equation, and it's really important to understand that it's not about so much just about the shiny new toy of social media. Everyone sort of jumped on the bandwagon, built their Facebook likes. But there's some things that really, really have changed over the last couple of years, and that's that Facebook actually has reduced its reach organically. In other words, they want you to pay to reach your audience. So there's been some things that have really changed on social media over the last few years. When I leapt onto social media 7 years ago, it basically was the Wild West. You could build reach on Facebook, and there was like what I call the Facebook like frenzy, and everyone was building up their Facebook likes. And what Facebook allowed you to do was to actually post something on your page, and your fans would all receive in their news feed or timeline would receive in your update. That has changed. So today, the art of using social media is moving from what I call a free model, an organic model, to more a paid model. So the game has changed. And that's what I think everyone has to understand. And to reach your audience on Facebook now means doing targeted Facebook advertising. And then you still have other channels like Twitter, which I use a lot as well, which is actually still provides great organic reach. But I treat social media much more as like what I call top of the funnel brand awareness, where they discover me, they engage with me because I provide content that adds value. And then I move them from what I call the top end of the sales funnel right into the sharper end, where they become leads, and then hopefully those leads convert into customers. So social media, you've got to be very careful that you just don't treat social media as a brand new toy, leap in and just go frantic. It really is important to understand how it's evolved and where it's going.
Okay, so let's start with Facebook, and I do like your funnel. But by the way, if you guys, we have a marketing department. We have it's a huge department of all of one person, Julian, and whenever Julian has a question or whatever, I always answer everything else the same. I just say, we'll go to www.jeffbullas.com, jeffbullas.com. What I like about your website is you have the specific, all your blogs or comments or articles on your website are very answering a specific question. It's almost like an FAQ list of social media. Would you agree with that or disagree?
Yeah, I agree. I basically create how-to blog posts that actually answer a whole range of issues that I believe that most people are trying to work out. So for me, it's creating a mindset that actually says, okay, what are the biggest challenges that people are having at the moment with social media, digital marketing, email marketing? In other words, anything in that digital marketing space. And so I try and put myself into their shoes and also think with what I call a beginner's mind. You really need to be thinking about what people are going to be asking and what are their questions, what are their doubts.
Okay, so let's just start with the 400-pound gorilla of Facebook. Isn't Facebook really bigger than Twitter, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Google Plus all combined?
Yes, it is. It's huge. And Facebook is still, the 800-pound gorilla. And it needs to be, but what you've got to understand now is that Facebook, using Facebook needs to be a targeted advertising model. It is, trying to use it to get organic reach, get me to like my page and then that person's going to receive my updates it's becoming less and less unlikely. In fact, the organic reach by people following your page is going to be pretty close to zero these days.
Yeah, because whenever they take it public, it's money's the answer. What's the question? I mean, the minute one of those guys goes public, it's all about just their earnings per quarter.
That's right. They've got to basically pay the shareholders, and I totally get that, and it makes sense. So you've got to realise how the game's played, and then you've got to get good at it. If you don't really understand Facebook advertising and some of the special words that are being thrown around now, like retargeting, I would recommend that you get hold of a really good Facebook advertising expert that just specialises in that area and get them to do it for you. Because the Facebook advertising area is what I'd call a little bit of a minefield. It's evolved so rapidly. And also, there's a lot of people are spending, like at the bottom of each of your posts when you post them is this lovely little thing says, boost this post, right? I wouldn't mind betting that Facebook is making most probably 70 or 80% of its revenue from that sort of stuff. And the effectiveness of that can be pretty minimal. So I would recommend strongly to anyone who really wants to use Facebook is stick to being a great dentist, create great content around what you do and, add value to your prospects and customers. But, hire someone from outside to do it well.
So you're saying when you do make a post on Facebook and it says boost this post, that's not really a good return on investment?
No, generally it's not for it's not clicks through to your website, it's just likes. So a lot of people go and see it, then they like it, and really nothing much is happening. So the reality is you've really got to get, really specific and use the right targeting methods. You want people coming through to your website and you want them to engage you on your owned property, right, which is your website or blog. You basically want to make sure that you use Facebook and email to drive traffic to your blog. I use what I call a traffic model, which is there's three types of traffic, right? One is you can pay for traffic. Right, and that's using ads on Google, it's ads on Facebook, it's ads on Twitter, and the list goes on. The other part is you can earn attention, and that takes a long time. So, for example, it's taken me 6 years to build a Twitter following of 380,000. So that's important to understand. Twitter is also very good from an organic traffic. So I send out a tweet, it links to my site, people visit it, great. So, and also you can earn authority with Google. That's what I call earned authority with Google. In other words, Google ranks your content, it starts indexing, it says, okay, your content's so good and your authority on search is so great, that will actually put you on page one. That again takes years. So essentially, this is a journey that should be done along with your paid targeted advertising on Google or Facebook or the other social media channels. And the purpose of either paid or earned traffic is to drive them to your website or blog, where you can get them to actually subscribe and become leads. In other words, and then you can reach your customers with your email list whenever you like. Because otherwise you're at the mercy of the changing algorithms of Google search or the changing science of Facebook ads. So essentially what you're going to be doing is bring the traffic to your owned properties, such as your blog, your website, and convert them into leads and then nurture them through content to then turn them into customers. So you've got to think of this holistically.
So basically, Do you know of a firm that these dentists could be calling that specialize in small businesses like a dental office to be doing their Facebook marketing campaign?
We've got some here in Australia. There's some in the US. So not off the top of my head, I'd be a bit hard to find them, but I can send that through to you later if you like.
Okay, yeah, that would be fantastic. So, what's more, if you were gonna, everybody has a budget, and the number they throw around in dentistry is 3% of collections should be spent on marketing, and I've always noticed that the average dental office is doing about 790,000 a year, so say 800,000, and the average dentist there is probably paying about 3%, but I always notice that the office is doing a million, million two, million five. They're always closer to 4 to 6% in advertising. But so everybody has a budget, is what I'm trying to say. Would you recommend what is a better spend, Google ads or Facebook ads?
Okay, test it. There is no, basically one answer to that. It depends on your offer. It depends on how good the image you're using on it. It's how good your conversion rate is when you bring them to the landing page, which is where you've made the offer on the ads, like get a free teeth cleaning service from us, or come and get your teeth cleaned for free. And of course, once you go in the office, then you got them in a chair and you've got them at your mercy. So you can upgrade them there, of course. And a lot of you, I'm sure, are doing that. So what you need to do is actually run some different tests. And in digital marketing, what you can do now is you can actually do A/B split testing. In other words, you can have a landing page comes up once and another landing page comes up, and you can see which landing page works well. In other words, the one that says, subscribe to our list and download our free ebook. That's what a landing page will be doing.
I know you're a genius because in MBA school they always taught in marketing is just measure, measure, measure. And the funniest joke in all of marketing is that you always know when you have don't have a degree in marketing, because you'll have a perfectly great ad that's crushing it, and you'll have a need to change the ad. And I had dinner the other night. I had a dinner in Australia, actually, with one of the other ladies speaking with me, and she's a dental consultant, and her husband is a dentist in Florida, and they've been running the same ad in their small town little newspaper for like a decade. And it's just it's something simple like missing teeth, call blank, and that's all it is. Just this little ad. And she goes, so many people have asked her other dentists, like, well, are you gonna ever change that? Or she goes, why would I change it? Every time I run it, it's like $300, and it gets in like 5 new patients for an implant consultation. She goes, you don't fix what's not broken. And a lot of people just they think that productivity is just being busy, and they got something perfectly working, and they have to change. It's why dentists are so brand loyal. All the dental manufacturers tell you that dentists are very smart. They got 8 years of college. They average one of them, and if they start using your product and there's nothing wrong with it, they're still using it 10 to 20 to 30 years later, even though all these other companies are saying, hey, try my version, try my brand. And they're like, why? I mean, why? So it just all comes down to measure it. And a lot of times the biggest mistake in business is to project your own thoughts on the people. And you're not the people, you're not the market. So you just measure everything. So that was a great answer. So let me ask this. How does one, okay, I bet you there's at least 2,500 dentists listening to you right now who have never, ever placed a single Facebook ad or a Google ad one time in their life. Do you want to walk them through that, or would your advice say, dude, no, you don't get it. You got to find someone to do it for you?
I would highly recommend stick to what you do well and hire someone who really knows their stuff, because it is it's quite a minefield. Like, I've been in this space for a while, and it just keeps changing so rapidly that it makes your head spin. And Facebook keeps changing how it does it. Some of the most effective, there's an area worth looking at, which is found to reduce the cost of ads and also be very targeted, and they're also content driven. So ask, if when you get your Facebook expert in your town or in your country, is basically say, okay, what's this Facebook retargeting? Okay, so I'd ask that question. How can I use Facebook retargeting? Is that a good thing to do? And that's maybe a question I would get them to ask of the digital advertising company that they end up hiring. Or when they start actually asking around and see who's good.
So what does that mean? Facebook retargeting. What does that mean?
Okay. Facebook retargeting means that you can load a cookie onto your blog or website, and the client might visit it because of implants, or it might be teeth cleaning, or it might be teeth straightening or teeth whitening. It might be a blog post. And what happens is that cookie then will follow them around the web. So when you do advertising later, what will happen is, and you've seen it, when you've been browsing, that suddenly this ad pops up, which has got to do with a topic that you looked at on a site a week ago. Essentially, then that content, that marketing or advertising then becomes relevant because that person was looking for that particular type of information. And now that ad is following them around if you start running those sorts of ads. So essentially that becomes, and as you know, that if you get advertising that's relevant to what you're looking for, that becomes a much more powerful type of advertising rather than an irrelevant one. I don't want to hear about Victoria's Secret. Well, most days I don't. But so essentially it's about retargeting. In other words, it's a cookie that essentially, to put it simply, follows them around the web and will actually allow you to target them with relevant ads based upon the content they were seeking when they visited your site.
So you're saying that since I've been sleeping with 2 cats for the last 5 to 10 years, that I should visit, if I visit Victoria's Secret website, when I'm logging on to Dentaltown, I'll see little scantily clad women ads on the side?
Yeah, and your wife will know what you've been doing, yeah.
Okay, I'll Ryan, make myself a note that after this podcast to go to the Victoria's Secret website. So I want to ask you another thing. Dentists keep asking me, and you're hearing it around, that people are saying do content marketing. Well, what is have you heard of that term, content marketing? And
yeah, I've been a content marketer for 7 years, so yes, I have heard of the term, yes.
What is the content marketer? Okay.
A content marketer is a term that's evolved over the last few years. It started, one of the terms that was used before that was a term called inbound marketing. And I remember reading a book by David Meerman Scott, and it was called The New Rules of Marketing and PR. And he said that really what you need to do is you need to attract customers to you rather than be, and that's called inbound marketing. And instead of picking up the phone and cold calling and chasing your customer, which is what we call outbound marketing. And you know what? I've been in the tech industry. I've done business development. I've done cold calls, and most of us hate doing cold calling. And also it's becoming less effective. So that's outbound marketing. And when I read this book, I went, wow, if I created really good, valuable content, people might just actually start contacting me and I attract them to me. That's called inbound marketing. And the parallel term with that is content marketing. In other words, it's content that attracts, by adding great, valuable content, you actually attract potential customers to you because you build credibility and trust. And as dentists, we know that we're delivering great services, but no one knows that. What do you do? So that's why blogging and creating content is really valuable to your community or potential community, because they will start reading if they discover you, whether it's through paid or whether it's through discovering you through a Google search or clicking on a tweet or a Facebook link or a video. They'll discover you. I say, oh, wow, this guy really knows, or woman really knows what they're talking. This dentist really knows their stuff. And they're actually helping me understand what I need to do to get my teeth straightened or my teeth whitened. And essentially what you're doing is you're attracting the customer to you. So it is the power of content to attract the customer to you by creating that credibility and trust about your brand. So it's about giving away free stuff for continually that builds that online credibility and trust, because online, no one knows who you are. You are defined by your content. End of story. Whether it's your videos, whether it's your images, whether it's your blog posts, you are defined online by content. That's it.
I want to say something to the listeners here. The founder of Facebook is Mark Zuckerberg, and his dad is a dentist, Ed Zuckerberg, and a really handsome, short, fat, bald dentist, just like me. And I asked Ed to do an online CE course on social marketing for Dental Town. And he said, I really don't want to waste your time because it changes so fast. He goes, I put the course up, and in a year, he said, I probably wouldn't have said anything I said. And what's funny is I asked you, do you want to explain how to do this? And you said, it's changing so fast that, don't even do it. So I would just tell my listeners that, damn, Ed Zuckerberg, whose son owns Facebook, doesn't even want to try to educate you on this on online CE courses because it's moving so fast. And I mean, he's done a podcast interview. He's a great guy. He posts on Dental Town. And then same thing with you. You don't even want to walk him through this because it'll all be different. I want to ask you another question that we hear. You said it's changed so fast. So back in the day with Pinterest, everybody was telling the dentist. One thing about dentists, we know for sure that about 88, sometimes the 89, 90% of all appointments are made by the moms. Dad seldom makes the appointment for the kids. When dad comes in, if you said, I'm filling out your kid's insurance form, when was your kid born? He never knows. If you say, when the kid was born, was there a Christmas tree or a pumpkin or, they have no idea. It's a woman industry. Really, dentistry is a woman's industry. Mom's making all the appointments. And they said Pinterest was 98% women. And that on your dental office website, you got to have a Pinterest page because that's where all the moms are. And then later, didn't Facebook buy Instagram? And wasn't that kind of a play against Pinterest, or it was kind of Facebook's own Pinterest? Is any of that stuff true, or was it true years ago and not true anymore? Or would you recommend having a Pinterest page to find moms? And is Pinterest now dead because Facebook bought Instagram and that's kind of the Facebook equivalent? Did anything I say just make sense? Was there anything in that what I just said?
I'm going to polish it, right? Okay. So Pinterest is predominantly female, and the numbers are in the 80s, I think. 80% from my last little bit of research a couple of months ago. So yes, Pinterest, and it's very visual. And so a lot of the mums and the ladies are actually, that's where they pin, there's really beautiful images, whether it's about the home or whether it's about food or whether it's about fashion, all those sorts of things. Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook bought Instagram for $1 billion when they only had 9 employees, and it was about 4 years ago, because it was mobile centric. In fact, Instagram
it was
didn't even have it was a mobile app. That's all it was.
Oh, mobile phone app.
So, yeah, that's all Instagram was initially. It didn't even have a website. So, but Instagram now is approaching, I think, about 400 million users, and it's as we know, it's driven by images and photos. So, what's really important to understand is that Mark Zuckerberg understood the future of the social web. It's now the social and mobile web. So understand that 75% plus now of Facebook's advertising revenue comes from mobile.
What percent?
So what's happened is that 76% of all Facebook's advertising revenue comes from mobile advertising.
Wow.
So understand that part of what you need to also get good at is what we call mobile content, mobile advertising, because the trend on this social web is very much in the mobile space. And what's also you've got to keep in mind is over the next 5 to 10 years, another 3 billion people are going to come onto the internet. Now, they are mostly from developing countries, and they're going to be using their mobile as their primary screen. So we used to talk about mobiles as the secondary screen, but now it's becoming the primary screen. So what you can understand is the use of images and mobile to actually reach your audience and get them to convert from, engaging with content and then, again, converting them into those email leads and then turn them into customers.
And for a dentist website, so you're doing these things, and I really love one of your blogs. And by the way, if you're listening to this, if you want to learn about marketing, you just go to www.jeffbullas.com. Bullas. What is Bullas? Is that English or Bullas?
It's It's actually original name Spanish, so it's actually a name of a town in the highlands of Spain. So original heritage from the 1600s is Spanish. So.
And by the way, if I've been to Australia several times. My brother lives in Sydney. I've lectured to their dental association, maybe every 3 to 5 years since like 1990. I'm telling you, that is the one. Sydney, Australia, is the only city I ever lecture in, and ask myself, why am I going back home to Phoenix? And my brother's down there, and I mean, I live in a boring suburb of Phoenix. I could go lay out in the middle of my street naked, and no one would know it for 3 days. It's so boring. And then at my brother's place, you walk out the street and just, it's restaurant, bar, band, bookstore. Oh my God. Sydney is just, 1 week there is equal to about a year of living in the suburbs of America. It is just the coolest city. And, but really, but I want to ask you this. Is this fair? Is going to your website learning about marketing, or is it learning about social media and digital marketing? I mean, because if this dentist is sitting there thinking, okay, I'm going to spend 3% on marketing, what would you be telling? Would he learn from your website about, well, what about the flyer? What about the yellow page ad? What about a billboard? What about all the kinds of marketing?
Yeah.
Or would you say that you're mostly a digital marketing, social marketing,
Yeah.
or would you just come? Or what would you say to that?
I concentrate on digital marketing, which involves all the different disciplines in that space. Because the reason I do that is because most people really, a lot of people have been doing flyers and, billboards and that for years, and that's fine. The principles of marketing, in essence, a lot of the principles haven't changed, like the art of writing a good headline, the ability to add value. But I concentrate on the digital marketing piece because I believe that's where most people have really struggled to understand this, what I call this internet revolution, this digital age, because it's disrupting almost everything. You don't have to look at what's happening to the taxi industry with Uber and Airbnb to understand that digital is basically disrupting almost everything. And for me, the challenge, I would say over 90% plus of businesses do not get digital marketing. So for my mission basically is to inspire and educate people and brands to win in a digital world, because that is where we're moving rapidly. We're already there. And a lot of us, because, we're all getting a little older and we've been in our industry for a while, the biggest challenge for us is not actually embracing new ideas, it's letting go of the old ones. And it makes me think a little bit of the what I call the Men in Black movies, where they have the neuralizer, right? And they hold it up and they go, okay, I'm going to erase your memory. So the biggest challenge for most of us is letting go of the old stuff that no longer works.
Well, you know why I am so excited about interviewing you and pushing this out. There's 205,000 dentists on Dental Town. I got about 125,000 on Facebook, and about 6,000 on Pinterest, 14,000 Twitter, 5,000 Google Plus. The reason I'm so excited about this is there's 2 million dentists around the world, and look at the difference between AIDS and dentistry. When poor countries were faced with AIDS, and they wanted to lower their rate, the government people went in there and totally used every form of marketing they had. They had radio and TV and billboards and print and social workers, and they went crazy advertising. Hey, you guys are going to kill each other if you keep having unprotected sex, and they curbed it and brought it down. So now we look at dentistry. There's 2 million dentists around the world, and most dentists practice in countries where all forms of advertising are illegal, as far as print and flyers and signage and all that. But the loophole, like Hong Kong, you've been to Hong Kong because it's right next door to Sydney. In Hong Kong, a dentist isn't allowed to do direct mail. They're not allowed to put a sign out on their door. You could have your license taken away. Having a nice patient newsletter and mailing it to everybody within a mile of your dental office in Hong Kong, and you'd lose your license. And it's that way in so many countries. So the only way we're going to bring down dental disease is around this loophole that all those laws are about print and billboard and signs and all that, but they're so archaic laws that they're not even aware of Facebook and Instagram and all these different things. So I think if we're going to fight dental decay and obesity and diabetes, we need to fight it just like that we fought HIV which is massively advertised. And these, like, no offense to you, but Australians are very conservative about dentists in Australia are very conservative about advertising compared to the United States. I mean, when I was down there having dinner with a lot of dentists, there was a couple of dentists at the table said they don't believe in it. And I said, "What do you mean you don't believe in it?" And they said, "Well, I think it cheapens the profession. You should find your dentist by asking your best friend at church or next door neighbor, your cousin. You shouldn't be on Facebook." I mean, he said the word Facebook is left as some kind of blasphemy. So I'm really excited, and I really think that the more dentists listen to legends like you who have crushed it in the big B2C world and bring those lessons down to the little bitty dental B2B world, that the 2 million dentists, through the use of social media, digital meeting, can get around all the laws, all the baloney recommendations that just make people lose all their teeth and cry. It'll really make a dent in this disease. But I want to ask you this, because I know people are wondering, should they be advertising on Instagram? Or is that even possible? Is Instagram something you can advertise on to build your dental office?
Yeah, Instagram started introducing and testing different types of advertising models to see what works and what doesn't. So what you're going to find is that Facebook, because it owns Instagram, is going to be rolling out advertising on It's started already rolling out advertising on Instagram. So again, if you want to be part of that, is to get someone who understands how that works and works well, and get them to do some tests for you. So the reality is that social media marketing is going to move towards much more of a paid model, not only, but it's going to be a very important component going forward of how to actually use social media.
Huh, and you also said advertising on Twitter. I was not aware that there is advertising on Twitter. How does advertising on Twitter work?
You can do a variety of different things. You can do promoted tweets. You can actually get people, you can run ads that actually boost your following. You can do all of that. So there's about 3 different types of ads on Twitter. I would suggest, though, that Facebook has got more granular targeted information about your potential customers. So you actually, and
who does?
You can actually get better targeted with Facebook than you would with Twitter.
So you'd be more targeted with Facebook than you would with Twitter.
That's right.
And when you say Facebook, that's the same as Instagram because it's owned by the same company.
Well, the ads on Instagram will be different to Facebook, but basically the technology that they'll be rolling out will be backed by the same sort of information. So, and technology. So, Facebook's a monster now in terms of its technology to actually do advertising. So it's going to be using all it's got at its disposal to, their competitor is actually Google. And Google, one of the reasons Google started Google Plus was to actually capture more information about people, because as we know with Google search, Google doesn't necessarily know a lot about you compared to what Facebook does. Because when you go to Facebook, what you do is you're going, how old are you? What university did you go to? What are your friends? What are your interests? What's your preference? And just the list goes on and on and on. So Facebook, very clever. What they did is they built, you become basically the customer, but you provide the information. So essentially they're using your information to target you.
So what was the original, Google had a chance to buy that back in the day, didn't they? Do you remember what the year and the number was?
I can't remember.
Yeah, they passed on it early on in the game, and I bet Sergey Brin and Larry Page have gnashed their teeth more than once on that deal.
I'm sure they have, yeah.
A lot of dentist websites have a Google Plus page or has the little red G. Do you think that's effective? Do you think that helps a lot?
I've been experimenting with it for years, and essentially it drives almost no traffic to my blog. It can help because Google does put up some Google Plus results, pages on Google Plus into their search results. I wouldn't be spending a lot of time on it. In fact, Google themselves actually announced they're actually maybe going to break it up into Google Hangouts and images. And in other words, Google Plus hasn't really been the success they were hoping for to actually take on Facebook. For me, I really wouldn't be spending too much focus on Google Plus. It's a little bit of what I call the Pareto principle, 80-20. You've got to work out what sort of advertising works best and then focus on that, not go around and do everything on social. Otherwise, that's all you'll be doing. You won't be doing any dental work. So essentially, work out what works and focus on those platforms that really do drive traffic and work.
Yeah, the funniest Facebook meme I've ever seen in my life is, "Hey, you want to learn how to make money on Facebook? Delete your account and go back to work." I
That's
love that joke. So also let's talk about this. Google didn't Google buy a blogging site too, or don't they have a blog? Don't they own a
yeah,
blog site?
yeah. It's called blogger.com.
Blogger. So if a dentist is going to write say you're an oral surgeon and you want to write a blog about when you should pull your wisdom teeth, or say you're an orthodontist and you want to talk about different types of ortho or bleaching or bonding, whatever, would you recommend that they have a separate blogger site on blogger.com, or would you put that blog on their website?
The blog's going to be part of your website. End of story. Because what's great about blogs is they actually add value to your domain authority. In other words, your domain name. So it might be, cooljahndentist.com, right? And cooljahndentist.com, you might have something like a /blog. In other words, it's part of that domain. So what you need to do is make sure that if you have a blog, it needs to be part of your website domain, because what a blog does is, as people read it, as they share it, as it gets discovered, it gets linked to by other websites and by people and other bloggers. What happens is that then becomes, you build authority on that blog, which is connected to your website, which means that you build up the overall authority of your website for Google, because Google is ranking and indexing you all the time. And the better the content you create, the more people that connect to you, the more authority you gain as a domain.
Do you think the company Google is, and now they changed their name, what is it, Alphabet, or what's the name of their company now?
They've started a different rebranding thing. I actually haven't looked too closely at that. Sort of like a whole rebranding.
So do you think Google is indexing your content you create on Facebook and Twitter, or would they not be allowed to do that from Facebook and Twitter?
They do collect social signals, so they do index Twitter a fair bit. There's a new relationship. They were working with Twitter a few years ago. That relationship ended, and now they're actually working again with Twitter, which means that Twitter gives them access to their whole stream of tweets, which Google is indexing and measuring. So, Google is looking at all sorts of signals on the web to make sure that it's capturing content that people are valuing, because what Google's trying to deliver up to you is great experience. So Google's about delivering to you a fantastic experience, so Google search continues to remain relevant to you, because we know how good Google is in terms of delivering up what we call great content, easy to find, because it does a great job at indexing it with its technology.
The one thing I don't understand about Google is you can be in a small town in the middle of nowhere, Kansas. I mean, you can be in, Eloy, Arizona, population 5,000, and Google a Mexican restaurant in Eloy, and it'll find it in like 0.001 second. But it can't figure out that my email in my inbox that I just inherited $5 million from a Nigerian prince, and if I just give him my bank account, how does Google not know that? I mean, that just blows my mind. You know where the only Mexican restaurant in Eloy is, but you don't know the Nigerian prince is not legit. I always thought that was bizarre. Okay, true or false? Some people say that SEO, search engine optimization, that if you have, since Google owns YouTube, that your website should have YouTube videos, because part of their search engine optimization algorithm, is looking for YouTube content, and that if you have YouTube videos on your dental website, that would help your search engine optimization. True or false?
Sorry, can you state the question again? Just clear. Sorry.
Well, they say that the search engine optimization algorithm from Google, when people are searching for like a dentist in Phoenix or whatever, that since Google owns YouTube and a 1-minute video has a million times more ones and zero digits than, say, your little 600-word blog on cosmetic dentistry, that if you have a bunch of YouTube videos on your website, that's a lot more ones and zeros to index, and that will really help your search engine optimization with YouTube when local people are trying to find a dentist?
Well, YouTube is actually the second biggest search engine in the world. So, and the research does show that it's easier to rank high on YouTube than it is to actually rank on Google search. So what you need to be doing is, yes, creating videos that are, got the keywords and phrases that you want to rank for. It might be teeth whitening Phoenix. You make sure that you're actually creating videos that are optimized for search engines, including Google. So it is important to actually be creating content in a variety of media, and YouTube optimization for search is actually really important to do. And that means actually using keywords and phrases not only in the headline, but also in the description, and also and categorize it. So when you create videos, it's not about just whacking up a video and hoping Google's going to find it. You're going to make it easy for Google to actually find you, or make it easy for the search function within YouTube to find you. So don't worry too much about the zeros and numbers and digits. Just be using the key phrases that you want to be found for, and create YouTube videos about that. Yes, that is very, very important.
Okay, true or false? LinkedIn. A lot of dentists say they'd rather spend their social media time on LinkedIn because people on LinkedIn are probably more likely to have a job and dental insurance and be able to come to your office than, say, someone posting on Facebook who's just showing that they're eating a pizza at the mall. Do you think a dentist should have a LinkedIn account because they might be finding higher class, highly educated, mostly employed people and more likely to have benefits? Do you think LinkedIn's a social media marketing play for dental offices?
I think it's essential for any professional and for offices to have one. And typically LinkedIn works best if it's actually about the person. So LinkedIn should be one of your top 5 accounts to have. So you should have a Facebook account, a Twitter account, Instagram account, a Pinterest account, and a LinkedIn account. And I'm not saying necessarily in all that order, but yes, LinkedIn is essential. In terms of advertising, the numbers show that it is quite expensive form of advertising. And I haven't heard a lot of people sprouting the huge benefits of advertising on LinkedIn. But again, it's another brick in the wall in terms of what you're doing online to actually be seen in a variety of places. I remember a story. I was invited to speak in Italy a few years ago, and over dinner one night I said to them, look, you don't know me, you just basically contact me via an email and then you asked me to come and speak. I said, why did you invite me? And they said, because we saw you everywhere. So the challenge for you is to create such a presence online that you become ubiquitous. In other words, to be in as many places as possible, because some research shows that that if you're seen once, your trust factor is like 3 or 4%. If you're seen in 3 to 5 different places, such as it might be a billboard, it might be online, it might be on LinkedIn, if you're seen in 3 to 5 places, your trust and credibility in people's minds goes up to over 55%. So LinkedIn's part of the puzzle. And I would encourage anyone to actually be on there, do some publishing on there, but I wouldn't call it one of the top, wouldn't be the top one.
And what did you mean when you said LinkedIn was more about the individual than the business, as opposed to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest?
Because most of us have a LinkedIn personal profile, which is essential in today's digital age. Everyone should have one of those, especially if you're a professional, and most of us today are. We're in the knowledge industry, so you can have a corporate one, but I don't know whether you'd need to do that as a dentist. So I do know some bigger corporations have LinkedIn corporate profiles. But the most important one is I wouldn't try and splinter it too much. I'd really just stick with a personal profile that profiles you as the expert.
Okay, and I'm sorry to re-ask this question because my brain's the size of a walnut, but I still don't get what's the difference between Instagram and Pinterest. You said both of them. I totally get the difference between Facebook and Twitter. I mean, Twitter's 140 characters, but Instagram and Pinterest, it's just a photo sharing, isn't it? I mean, what's really the difference between Instagram and Pinterest, and why would you recommend both? Are there any really difference?
Pinterest is a bit more desktop oriented, not just mobile. Instagram is essentially pretty well primarily mobile.
Okay.
Instagram is also growing much more rapidly. Pinterest, I think, has only got about 60 or 70 million people on it, so it's still large. But I would put Instagram as a platform where I'd be playing more than Pinterest.
Okay, and again, true or false? Some dentists are saying that if you hire a consultant or hire an expert to build you a Wikipedia page about Jeff Bullas and list all your accomplishments and everything, so you have a page on Wikipedia that really looks profound when someone's Googling a dentist and you're the only dentist in Parsons, Kansas who has a Wikipedia page, and that if you do have a Wikipedia page, that Google gives you a higher authority because you have a Wikipedia page. True or false?
I've been on Wikipedia, and someone did that for me, and then Wikipedia decided to actually pull it down because it looked like a resume or something, they said. I didn't see it affect my Google rankings at all. But again, it doesn't hurt. So if you can get, Wikipedia page, but it's not something I'd put as my top 3 things to do once we get off this call. Okay, so yes, it's another brick in the wall.
Okay, well, we're 45 minutes into this. I only got you for about 15 minutes left. So then when they get off this, I'm going to put your own words in your mouth. When they get off this podcast, what should the first 3 things they do? If their goal is, I would like to get more new patients in my town of Eloy, Arizona, and I'm just a regular good old boy general dentist.
Okay. If you want to get traction fast, I would do Facebook advertising and do it well.
And earlier we agreed that would be them, the dentist not doing it, but finding someone else. Okay, what about this piece of advice? This dentist is sitting there and she's 35 years old and she's like, I don't really do Facebook, but my assistant, I see her checking it every 15 minutes and she tells me she checks it before she gets out of bed and she checks it in laying in bed going to night and then sits in her nightstand. Is it good advice just to give that task to that dental assistant and say, look, you live on Facebook, you do the Facebook ads and marketing for office?
Short answer, no.
It's just too complicated for that.
They're not going to do it well. They might boost the post and spend $200 of your money on your credit card, and they might get a lot of likes and it looks good. What essentially most of that will be a vanity metric. I got 200 likes, people, but no, get clever, get smart, get targeted, right?
Get clever, get smart, get targeted, and then you'll email us. You say you might know of some firms. Oh, well, we a lot of fans of the show are in. In fact, I was trying to fix you up with Derek Mahoney because I was having dinner with him the night before, and he said he wanted a social media expert. And I said, well, I'll ask Jeff Bullas tomorrow at breakfast. Did you ever meet Derek, or did you guys ever contact?
Yeah, I caught up with him and his clinical manager. So we had a chat, and so we did catch up. We did.
Good, yeah. But if you have any names of any firms that would help dentists do that, like say a lot of the fans of the show are in the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, basically the English-speaking world, because my Farsi is just not up. It's not up to speed enough to do a podcast in Farsi. So anything else then, Jeff? Anything else you'd want to talk about, or?
And I just think for people that you've got to understand that we live in a digital age, so you're going to have to change your thinking in a lot of ways. And I would encourage all of you to actually realize that you maybe got more unlearning to do about the past and embrace this new social mobile web, because that's the future. And if you don't do that, you might find that you will be disrupted by a young startup out of college that will know how to use digital marketing and create something that adds real value to the client. So for me, what I've realized is the importance of content to actually add value to my readers. And then that turns into opportunities. And that's really important to understand, is that you basically got to give away free content. And as you know, on your site, you give away a lot of free content. That principle stays the same whether you're a small town dentist or whether you're a big town corporate dentist. Okay, the reality is still the same. And you want to basically continue to build that credibility and trust with your clients by adding value to them. and that will just continue to do that, because online you are defined by content.
I think it's interesting how the world turns. I mean, because I'm almost 30 years out of school, and when I opened up, I was a renegade because I was buying an ad in the Yellow Pages, and all the older dentists thought that was very bad image. And instead of going into a medical dental professional building next to a hospital, I went in a retail setting next to a grocery store, Walgreens, Pizza Hut, and they thought that was a joke. And I was crushing it because I had a visible retail location. It was in the Yellow Pages and was doing direct mail to every house in my zip code every quarter. And now, and I was crushing the old guys because they didn't get it. And what's funny now is, to you young dentists out there that are, under 30, when I got out of dental school, I had never seen a cell phone. I had never seen a computer, a laptop, social media. None of this stuff even existed. And that's what makes me want to try to live to be 80 the most, just to sit there knowing that when we're 80, from the difference, your phone nailed to the wall to an iPhone, I just wonder what the hell it's going to be in 30 years. In fact, that'll be my last question for you is, what are your predictions? Where is this game going? Are you brave enough to think of where this will be in like 10 years from now?
I think there's some exciting stuff happening with virtual reality that's going to transform education, marketing, and a lot of industries. And to basically go and visit, and it's going to transform potentially travel. But yeah, virtual reality is a lot of big dollars pouring into that, because Facebook actually bought Oculus Rift, the virtual reality headset technology company, for $2 billion about a year ago. And essentially that's going to be, I think, a huge area. And whether that could be even used for diagnosis down the track, I don't know. But virtual reality is going to be big. The other one that's going to be big too is what I call the robots are coming. And what I mean by that is that your marketing is going to be driven by a digital marketing automation platform down the track. So, and that allows you to do digital marketing at scale. And that's the other real thing you've got to keep. I've just implemented over the last 12 months a digital marketing automation platform that's allowed me to quadruple my email list and also double my income just by automating my marketing, or the parts that are really important. So virtual reality and digital marketing automation platforms, they're the two to keep an eye out for.
So you said it was Oculus Rift, or just Oculus, where's it? Oculus.com. And what was the second one? What was the second website you said?
Digital marketing automation platform. So it's about...
Is that digital marketing automation platform? Is that your company or another company?
No. That's basically the trend that's emerging. Basically, it used to be able to get $1 million software that allowed companies, like IBM, Adobe, all created big, marketing automation platforms. Essentially, what's happening now is that the small end of town can use platforms like Infusionsoft, Marketo, Entreport, HubSpot. These are all digital marketing automation platforms that allow you to actually do marketing at scale and measure. They can measure your effectiveness. In other words, what's your open rates on emails? What's your conversion rate from a lead to a sale? So all those sort of measurements will be able to be done from those platforms as well. And also it means that you'll be able to do the tasks that at scale. In other words, you don't have to do it manually. And so you're seeing the rise of what I call cost-effective small to medium business digital marketing automation software.
Now, you said you were going to help me set up mine. Can you send me another email, howard@dentaltown.com, and then I'll reply to you and bring back in my president, Lori Zalowski, and say what's the status? Because you said you would be for hire to teach me how to do that.
Yeah, that's right. So I was just waiting for your person to speak to my person.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Would you mind sending me an email on that? Or do you still?
Yeah, I will.
Do you still have that email, the original one?
Oh, I think I have your original email, so it's fine.
I only touch every email once. When I read email, I reply, forward, delete. I just can't have 45,000 emails in my deal. I'm not smart enough. But hey, so I just saw that Oculus.com. That is pretty neat. It's like a pair of goggles on your head, and so you think the future, these dentists might be taking online continuing education classes with these goggles on their head?
Absolutely. That is definitely going to happen.
Wow, that is totally exciting. And hey, the next time I visit my brother, can last time we went out and had a boring breakfast and coffee. Next time, can we go out in the evening and just kill about 400 beers with David with Derek Mahoney?
Done.
We ate across the street from the opera house, and Derek, it was just he was just so fun to have dinner and drinks with. That guy is just he's got more personality in his finger than I got in my whole body. But hey, thanks for making a religion out of availability. I could not believe that the guy on all the top 10 list of every top 10 list I've ever seen in social media, like say any list I've ever seen of the top 10 social media experts in the world, your name's always on there, and I cannot believe that you said you'd meet me and my brother for breakfast. And you're adorable. You're a genius, and your metrics speak for itself. How many likes do you have on Facebook?
I've got about 36,000. So I don't really chase Facebook likes because it's no longer that big a deal. So,
But the Twitter following.
Yeah, Twitter following is great because that actually is my secret source. Twitter is still very organic. In other words, I get a lot of traffic from Twitter. In fact, it's about 75% of all my traffic from social comes from Twitter.
But that's the difference between Facebook and Twitter, because you could build up 10,000 likes on Facebook, but post something and your 10,000 people who liked your page don't see it.
That's right.
But on Twitter, you built up 1/3 followers, and if you send out one tweet, all 1/3 followers see it, right?
If they're online and they're in the stream, yes, they will see it. So that's important. I've noticed a lot of people are getting much more interested about Twitter. So I'm actually starting this December. I've mapped out a course on what I'm going to be calling potentially the Twitter traffic machine. So I'll be teaching people how to grow their followers and use Twitter to create traffic and attention online.
Now, are you interested in any of these 2 million dentists around the world as customers, or would that help your business at all?
Well, I think what I'll be able to do is help them with will be online education, basically how to market their business. So that's.
Well, do you want to put a course up on Dental Town? We put up 350 courses. Most of them are an hour, some of them are 2 to 3 hours, and they've been viewed over 500,000 times.
Yep.
If you've got a course and you want to put it on that, let me know. I mean, what excites me is if the 2 million dentists can get around all their local advertising, and if we do what the first world did on AIDS prevention to these countries with below AIDS rates, if we treated decay like that, because you can't wait for the Australian Dental Association, who thinks if you're marketing, you're probably also doing drugs and or something else. And like say, many countries will just take your license away. I mean, but if we all if the 2 million dentists, if you educated the 2 million dentists and they were out there sharing the information about dental decay and it's contagious, and if you have gum disease, don't kiss your baby and all that stuff, like, we could really make a dent in dental decay and gum disease.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think happy to help with that mission. So I've just come back from India after speaking at a conference there, and the potential to transform the world from your office in your own city or from your home office is pretty exciting, and that's what excited me right from the get-go. I said, wow, with this social web, I can reach the world and make a difference. And I think, if we all embrace that, we can all make a difference in our own niche. And I think that's something that continues to excite me, and I just continue to look forward to the next day.
You know what blew my mind the most? I can still remember like 15 years ago when I went to India for the first time. You know what blew my mind the most? In my walnut brain, growing up in Kansas, we all learned that India were mostly Hindus and they were vegans. And I just thought of this country of people eating fruits and vegetables and hardly any meat and just the healthiest eaters in the world. My God, those people eat more snacks than anybody I know. You couldn't go over to Dennis' house without the mom and the grandma bringing you trays of cookies and snacks and wafers. And they may be vegan, but they eat enough sugar for enough dental decay for half of Asia. But hey, Jeff, thank you so much for your time. I think you're a rock star. Your numbers speak for themselves. I cannot believe that I scored an interview with you in the little old world of dentistry. Thank you so much for your time.
It's been a pleasure, Howard, and have a great day.
All right, you too, buddy. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.